Through enduring hardships, the tears of pain I shed today will be the tears of joy I shed tomorrow. I am Coach mjdtiger, certified life coach and mentor. Through passion and purpose, aiding those through the valleys, over the mountains, and conquering the volcanoes of life. While free, yet connected to everything, every place, and every person around us, we can obtain a life of freedom and wellness through passion and purpose. There is no end. You are here now. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Learn, laugh, and level up. How are you feeling? Take a moment to do a self-check-in for yourself. Do this every morning, throughout the day as needed, and every night before you close your eyes for sleep. Ask yourself, how are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling spiritually? And all, how do you feel in your mind? How do you feel in your body? How do you feel in your heart? And how do you feel in your soul? Balancing yourself is a healthy daily practice that will reliably keep you in harmony with your entire mind, body, heart, and soul. Take these next few moments of meditation in silence to answer those very questions. How are you feeling? Something to think about every day, every single day. Fear, mistrust in yourself, doubt, limited beliefs. These are things that you have to rid yourself of every single day. And it may have to be a reset button every single day. That reset button is trust. And that button is powered by self-love and self-respect you have for yourself. Everything that you fear, everything that you believe is holding you back, everything that you think is going wrong, there's always another way. There's always a different point. And sometimes we're going too fast. We got to slow down, sometimes even stop. The goal is just not to go backwards. It's to go forwards. We can only do that by trusting ourselves to know we can get over fear and obstacles, and limited beliefs, and the stories we tell ourselves each day that we can't do it. Yes, we can. Yes, we will. Yes, we do. That is something to think about every single day, every single moment. You do, you can, you will. There is no should. There is no try. Just do it. Be patient with yourself, love yourself, be grateful for what you have, and forgive yourself, and keep moving forward. You are stronger than what you are giving yourself credit for. Trust yourself. You are. Episode 8. You are leading by example. We start, as always, leading by example through ourselves first. We'll get to how that translates into the lives of others and how we affect people by how we lead ourselves. But our presence in this world, for obvious reasons, is extremely important. But it always starts from within. We talked about in previous episodes about the outside matching the inside, integrity, who you are, your presence, and what you stand for. We talked about that clay mold that we're taking the clay, we're molding ourselves into something that is recognizably useful and is something that people can identify as beneficial, valuable, or not. Discipline, ownership, accountability, investment into yourself, investment into others, being genuine, being you. You are here now. You are. It's always back to that singularity, that atom. We rebuild upon that atom, upon who we are, molecule after molecule, how we lead mentally, knowing this, consciously making these decisions. It's extremely important, which is why I'm breaking it down so precisely at this point. Because if I could teach myself something back when I was 20 years younger, it would have been lead yourself by example, and others will follow. Lead yourself by example, and your influence has more impact. Lead yourself by example, and your purpose in life is far clearer to not only yourself, but to others, which is easier for you to align with other people. If you are not in alignment with yourself, how can others be? You can't ask someone or a group of people to be aligned with you if you can't show them your alignment to yourself. We could sit at a desk and have a group of people sit in front of us and we can tell them everything about ourselves, all the while doing the exact opposite of what we're saying to them. We can say that we are the healthiest persons alive, and all we see in front of that person is Twinkies and hamburgers. We can say we're the smartest people alive, and there's no books around. All the thing behind them is Netflix and chill, television time. We have to be who we are. We have to represent inside, outwards. Because it's important. I know as a father, what I do and what I say means something to my son. Because I know what my father said and meant, what he did, meant something to me. And in a lot of ways, my depression coming from my father was, he used to tell me all the time, I'll be there for you forever. Eventually you'll come live with me. He went on and on and on about this on our phone conversations because he split from my mother when I was 5 years old. But we had a relationship. Looking back on it, I don't really know what that relationship meant because he was gone before I really could understand what relationships were. So when I look back at his words, they kind of come off as hollow because everything he said, a lot of it was contradictory. There was no way he could ever be there for me forever if he refused to go to the hospital and he chain smoked and he was an alcoholic. So I knew going in with my son, I would never be perfect. But one thing I would do is that he would know that my purpose in life would align inwards and outwards. And I would lead him by example. But I'm not trying to lead him with perfection. That is fool's gold. That is a fantasy. Those who try to influence other people through the lens of, I'm perfect, I have everything figured out, I know everything, you have failed that person already. You don't know everything. You are not perfect. You have not made every right decision. You do not have the best judgment. I say that to myself. Therefore, I can learn. I leave room for myself to learn when I say those things. If I said to myself that I was perfect and I've learned everything that I could possibly learn and I've given all that I could possibly give at the age of 42, why would I say or feel or think any of that? I am but a child in spirit, but a man physically. I need to learn so much more. As a coach, I look forward to it, learning more about life so I can expand my coaching experience, so I can expand my leadership, so I can expand who I am as a person, so I can lead more confidently, knowing that I've been through all these things and I don't want to go through everything thinking perfect, success after success, never mess up. That's just insane. What does my son learn from that? If my life is always easy and perfect, nothing ever goes wrong, there's no learning moments, there's no teaching moments, how does he learn? He learns by seeing that his father is going through things and overcoming them one by one, and not being negative in doing so, taking those negative experiences and turning them into positives, taking negative relationships and replacing them with positive ones, taking negative workplaces and replacing them with positive ones, taking negative mindsets and rationality and replacing it with positives. It's all about that. It's about looking at everything and saying, how can I make this a net positive? But we have to lead by example. As children, we were always followers. We followed. Now, some children, even myself, you kind of go back and forth on that line. I had to be both a follower and a leader at a young age, which kind of dwarfed my childhood a little bit. But it taught me at a young age that there was a difference between following and leading, and what it took to do that. And age has nothing to do with it. It's about integrity. It's about who you are, what you're willing to face while you're still afraid, and you do it anyway. That's why this is called the brave never fall. Not the cowards always rise. Not the weak always run. Not the we are always right. The brave are always right. That's not what it's about. It's about being afraid and standing up and saying, I'm afraid, but I'm going to fix this and I'm not going to run. Because if I run, that means I have to go back towards what made me afraid in the first place. How can I grow outwards if I'm retreating inwards? So, leading by example, knowing that we have people who rely on us, they look up to us. And a lot of us, whether we like it or not, if you're a parent, whether you want that responsibility or not, it's happening. Those children are looking at you. But this is the problem. Those children are their own individuals. And we can try to influence them and educate them and try to show them the world that is, but it's from our point of view. It's from our reality. They still have the responsibility to make their own choices. What we do as leaders, by leading by example, is show them this is my reality and this is how I navigated my course. But your course is not going to be anything like this. If somebody told me, hey, your course is going to be exactly like your father's, well, that would mean I only have 3 more years to live. And that would mean that I would deteriorate myself consciously on purpose to get to that point. That means I look forward to leaving my son here in this world without his father. So the sins of the father do not have to be paid for by the sins of the kid. That's not his responsibility to bear. It's me making the choices of my life affecting him. My job is to make him aware that these obstacles, these things that happening around us could potentially happen to you. And this is how we prepare for what we've been talking about in almost every episode, and that's expect the unexpected but not be surprised by it. The more my son knows what I've been through, regardless if he goes through it or not, he knows that that is a life that could happen to not only himself, but to those people around him. So you're creating empathy within your children. You're at least giving them perspective through leading by example of what you can expect from this world. The decisions alone are those people. You're not going to influence any child to the point of control. And that's the problem with a lot of parents, is that you see them try to control their children. They try to manipulate and control them, but they're not living by example. So they're in contradiction to what the children are actually seeing. The parent is leading in fantasy. The child is seeing them in reality. So there's a clash. But then there are extremes of that. Then after we figure out who we are, like when I had my awakening, I knew right then and there, I'm going to be a far different father than I was before. But I wasn't afraid that my son would change or feel like I changed all that much, because I knew my core, the core was still intact. It was, I need to change the total appearance so that my exterior matches my interior, and vice versa. I knew that I could no longer walk around looking like what I felt inside was completely different. Outwardly, I looked horrible. Inwardly, I felt great. So they needed to match. So I was never in fear that my son, when I had my awakening, I knew I was going to change almost everything in my life and jettison all these people. To him, I am still the same person because my core was the same. I never deviated from who I was because I trusted who I was. And I've always known that at my core, I am good. I just didn't know what to do with the abilities and the talents that I had. And I didn't know what to do with all the failures that I've had in my life, and all the wrong decisions and all the wrong judgments and all the bad relationships that I had. I didn't know what to do with all of it. Once I understood what to do with it, then life started to tell me, now you can just match the outside to the inside. I felt healthy, so I needed to look healthy. I wanted more knowledge, so I made room in my life, got rid of unnecessary things so I could gain that knowledge. I started leading by example. That takes discipline and integrity, and it does not mean you're supposed to be perfect, because leading by example can also be interpreted by other people, and this is where judgment comes in. When people want to judge you, and they'll say, well, you're not leading by example because I wouldn't do those things that you're doing if I were you. And that sentence to me I have no response to that sentence, because the answer to that is very obvious. You're not me. No, you couldn't do what I'm doing. And these things that you don't like about me that I'm doing, you can't understand how I'm doing them. Therefore, you wouldn't do them. Therefore, I am not perfect and I'm not leading by example. But while you're spending time judging other people and making recommendations and unsolicited advice about what they should do, that means you're not focusing on what you should be doing. And while you're doing that to someone else is doing that to you. Which is why I don't have time to judge people. That is not my place. I am not a God. I am not a judge. I don't judge people. You make your decision, eat it. That is not my problem. It's your problem. It's my problem when it becomes an attack and it affects me negatively, and it affects my loved ones negatively, and it affects how it disrupts my peace when I'm not giving it in return. And again, I think that's also leading by example. If I am my own person and I'm walking my own trek and I'm not bothering anyone else, what right does someone have to disrupt my peace and joy because they're in turmoil or they're dealing with traumas? This is why leading by example is important, because you never know when you're going to go through something. You're going to need someone there who is a little bit stronger, a little bit more put together at that moment. Doesn't mean they're better than you. They're just dealing with things a little better. We don't want to burn every bridge with every person just because we think we have it all figured out. A leader knows when to speak and when to be silent. A leader knows when to focus on those through empathy when they need your attention. And I'm not talking about those who are neurotic or just have their hands on, they want attention. I'm talking about those we are obligated to be there for in our relationships, in our workplace, in our churches, in our friendships. Can't ignore the problems of others because we don't have enough empathy to really take in another person's total reality and their experience, because that leads to selfishness. Even me as a person, one of the things that I love about life is that no matter what we're going through, it doesn't take any effort to listen to someone else, regardless if you agree or disagree. But for some people, that is an extremely hard thing to do. Listening to someone, just listening without offering your opinion and unsolicited advice, you're getting angry because you disagree with what they're saying. A leader knows it doesn't matter. You can detach. That person has a right to think and feel whatever they want, as long as it's not hurting you negatively. Leading by example is the purest form of being someone who is accountable, has ownership over themselves, and they're completely honest and genuine about who they are, and they're not afraid to fail in front of everyone they care for. That's leading by example. It's saying, I know I tried this and I failed, but believe me, I'm replacing it with something that is far greater, something far better. Not because I'm trying to stoke my pride and my ego, but because it's more aligned with who I am now, because I learned something from this experience. But here's the funny thing about life, is that a lot of these experiences we have, we end up creating ourselves. So a lot of these negative experiences we have as individuals, they're all consequences that we're still dealing with from some past decision that we made or one we didn't make. Being conscious of those things, not sitting in regret every single day and saying, I wish I'd changed that. I wish I had spoken to this person a different way. I wish I had done this. But instead saying, those things happen. I can't do anything about them, but I can make those things better. If there's someone that I need to walk up to and say, hey, I am so sorry. I forgive you. If it's a different scenario, these are two separate things. You know, some person you may need to say, I'm sorry to. Some person you may need to say, I forgive you. Some person you need to say, I'm jettisoning you. But all of those things are things that we can take with all those negative failures and all those things in our lives, those pains and regrets and anything that weighs us down and just gets in our mind and we can't get it out of our mind. We haven't come to terms and grasp the enormity of the weight that those memories have for us, and we get stuck and we can't get out of them. We want to go back to that time and say, I wish I could just live in this moment. This year was perfect. If I could just go back to this 1 year and live in that forever, I'd be great. But we can't do that. We can't recreate our past with a new cast of characters. You can't replace your ex with somebody new and say, he was like this, I need you to be exactly like him. She did this every single day, I need you to do exactly what she did. That's not leading by example. That's trying to recreate something you had no control over in the first place. And we focus on these things instead of focusing on what we can create. We think we've lost things in life that can be regained in a second if we just own up to who we are and what we did. And if there's something that you want to change in your life, if there's something that you feel like you need to do it, then do it. But you have to be disciplined about it. Changing rapidly every other month, every other week to this, to this, to this, to this, and this will never serve you. At that point, you're just a bunch of different personalities trying to coexist in one body, all fighting against each other with no purposeful outcome. At some point, You have to find who you are and stick with it. You have to find what works, find what defines you inside, and show it externally to those who are looking up to you for leadership, who are screaming from the rooftops, will you lead? And then there's people who want to be led, but they want to control how they're being led. And that is something else that is not healthy in growth. We cannot control other people, how we are being led. If you want to follow, you cannot control how you're being led. You have to accept what's there and make a choice. Either you are a follower or you're a leader, or maybe you're going back and forth, because we all have coaches, we all have mentors. We don't all know everything. And if you do know everything, believe me, you don't. But we cannot control how we're being led. We have to surrender to the fact that we have the choice to go any path we want. But at some point, you have to make a commitment to yourself and to your purpose and to who you are and to those who look up to you to say, this is my path, for better or for worse. I need to stay on it for a while to see how this is going to go, because I know if there's enough there, I can make this work. Because damn it, this path is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be everything that I want it to be, but it's more than enough. And if I start over fresh right now with a whole new path, with a whole new ideas instead of I'm relearning myself in real time and expecting everyone else around me to learn it too. And that's a bit too much to ask. You have to understand your core. Only then can you lead by example. If we want respect as leaders, we have to be able to show we deserve the respect. We have to show that we mean what we say, that we do live our purpose through discipline and self-love and self-respect for ourselves. And we're not trying to control the lives of others. We're just walking. We're walking. But we have to ask ourselves, are we walking in the right direction and with the right people alongside us? Are we being the hero to our own villain internally? Are we overcoming that villain within us that keeps on popping up and saying, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. I'm going to keep bugging you. I'm going to feed and fuel your anxiety. I'm going to turn you in the wrong direction. I'm going to make you doubt yourself. I'm going to make you make the wrong decisions. I'm going to make you make that big wrong decision at that crossroads moment. Each of us has the ability to push beyond that villain. And we'll talk about it more in the next episode. But we must lead ourselves by example. Keep that discipline, grow it. Know that whatever we're doing with that discipline, it doesn't just affect us, it affects everyone and everything and every place around us, especially if we look deep into it. What we say and what we do, the ownership, the accountability, it all makes a difference in the end. Focal points on discipline, ownership, accountability. If we're doing it and people can see it, we don't even have to say it. They can see it. They see what the right thing to do is and what the wrong thing to do is for each individual. What's right for you may not be right for someone else. What's wrong for you may not be wrong for someone else. We are all individuals. We all walk in our own shoes. We all have our own paths. But we can also learn from other people. But there's no lesson you'll ever learn greater than the lessons you'll learn from your own mistakes, your own failures, your successes, and your triumphs. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Learn, laugh, and level up.